The dangers of a hard Brexit, debate over the future status of EU and British citizens. New EU rules on audiovisual to protect Europeans online while supporting creative industries. New tools to fight cybercrime, terrorism, and trafficking, strengthening the EU agency called Eurojust. And the rule of law in Romania, debating the battle against corruption in a country soon to take the reins of the EU.
Hello and welcome to our roundup of the European Parliament's latest plenary session here in Strasbourg. We begin with tough words on Brexit and the dangers if there's no divorce agreement between the EU and the UK.
As Brexit talks flounder, the UK government's post-Brexit immigration plan, favouring skilled workers, came under fire in Parliament debate from EPP Group Chairman Manfred. He also called for an interim agreement to protect EU as well as British expats.
The idea that millions of Europeans can freely decide where they want to earn their money, where they want to live with their family, is, having the history of Europe in mind, such a huge achievement. And I hope that the Brits can simply understand that we believe still in this idea, that we want to defend this idea still.
Weber also slammed British Foreign Secretary Jeremy Hunt for his likening the EU to the USSR.
Brexit is a tragedy, that's clear, but it shows also the people what populism means, what populism brings: less growth, less certainty and less future. And now we experience a new level of populism when the Foreign Minister of Great Britain, Hunt, is comparing again the European Union with the Soviet Union.
European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker urged London to avoid a hard Brexit next spring. An agreement would have to come soon, in time for the European Parliament and national governments to approve.
We want a deal. Those who think that a no deal would be the better solution are not aware about the difficulties of such a scenario, such a scenario would imply. And when it comes to the border between the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland, we are sticking to the point of view we have expressed so many times: Ireland first. Thank you.
Next, legislation that updates EU rules to adapt to a fast-evolving audiovisual market powered by the web, as more and more people rely on the internet for their entertainment as well as to inform themselves.
Gaining full Parliament approval, it's one of the latest EU efforts to put an end to the excesses and abuses of what some call the World Wide Web, to enhance the benefits for consumers and businesses alike. The legislation sets similar rules for online media as for traditional media. It limits advertising time and product placement. It outlaws incitement to hatred and protects minors against harmful content, including junk food advertising. The EPP Group's Sabine Verheyen wrote the legislation.
We also made transparency rules in the advertisement sector. So when, for example, a young blogger shows a lipstick or something and says that's the best you can get, and she's paid for that or she's sponsored, then she has to claim that she's sponsored or that she's paid, so that there is transparency between content and advertisement.
And it sets a 30% quota for European films offered by on-demand providers.
They already have 18 to 25% of European content. It's not a too big step for them to fulfill these obligations.
Now you might say, Eurojust, what's that? Well, that explains why the European Parliament is boosting the role of that EU agency in fighting serious crime across borders, with an updated toolbox to help member states.
Eurojust focuses on the fight against cross-border organized crime that the European Commission says has exploded in the last decade. That includes trafficking in people and drugs, terrorism and cybercrime, including child pornography. Extremely mobile and flexible criminal groups are active in many member states, which calls for a pan-European strategy. That's where Eurojust can improve judicial cooperation across the EU and support investigations involving non-EU countries. Axel Voss, author of the legislation, is on the Legal Affairs Committee and is a member of the EPP Group.
At first, we are connecting Eurojust to the new established European prosecutor, and we get a better link to Europol for exchanging all the data, and of course the exchange of data between the member states itself. We need this platform and this connection and tool that they can also coordinate better, because our crime law is still national. And therefore, we need this link like Europol Europol is, this is what we have on the level of prosecutors.
Finally, the fight against corruption. It's a major issue in many parts of Europe and especially in Romania. The government's moves there to water down anti-corruption policies have sparked outrage there as well as here, where MEPs debated the issue.
It's an especially controversial issue as Romania prepares to assume the rotating EU presidency in January. The European Commission has turned up the pressure on the Romanian government, and so did MEPs here. EPP Group Vice Chair Esteban González Pons addressed Romania's Prime Minister, Vasilica-Viorica.
Europe is not a single market only. We are also a community of shared values, and when our countries signed the treaties, we signed for those values too, for all of them. So this is not an East-West issue. This is an European issue. Madam Prime Minister, you have two options. You can listen to this Parliament, you can listen to the European Commission, you can listen to the Romanian Parliament, you can listen to your people, or you can ignore all the democratic controls. But with all due respect, this Parliament will wait in the side of the noble and proud people of Romania. There is not another option for us. You should understand it.
The recent killings of investigative journalists in Malta and Slovakia have underlined how deadly anti-corruption efforts can be. Parliament has set up a rule of law monitoring group of MEPs to watch those investigations.
That's all for now from the Strasbourg session. See you next week in Brussels. And find out more about the activities of the largest political force in Parliament by checking eppgroup.eu. Thanks for watching.